Welcome to the Dome Discussions Podcast. Your top source for all things New Orleans Saints. Powered by four voices who live and breathe black and gold.
Touchdown!
Every hit, every play.
Welcome to the NFL.
Every moment. We've got it covered.
Let's go! Let's go!
What's going on, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Dome Discussions Podcast. I'm Nick Jennings, joined by Drew Collins and Caleb Yacarino. And today we are going to be discussing what it would take for the Saints, or what the Saints would be getting in a Derek Carr trade, and what the possibility of it actually happening is. I'll start by saying if the Saints could get anything in this deal, that would be great, just because this wasn't even in the cards months ago. Derek Carr was recording podcasts just like us months ago, or even this week, where he actually had that rumor that I know Caleb is going to talk about. But yeah, I think if the Saints could even get anything from a fourth to a seventh, anything for Derek Carr, I think it would be ideal for the Saints.
So I'm a little bit more pessimistic on it. I fully don't see it yet. I hope it does, because as Nick just said, literally anything, a bag of chips would be better than what the Saints are getting right now, because he's just doing nothing for him. So even if you get a seventh round pick, you take a shot on a player. Yeah, it probably won't pan out, but what if you get someone who even plays the season, who starts the season? That's better than what you're getting right now. But I'm still not fully bought in on the idea, because some of the rumors and some of the stuff Carr said is kind of contradicting itself. Carr saying he wants to win a Super Bowl. He wants to be on a competing team. Who are the two teams most likely to get for him? The Jets, the Vikings, teams like that. I don't really know if any of those teams are going to be in the playoffs, much less competing for the Super Bowl. So I'm not fully bought in on that there will be a perfect situation that he'll want to jump out of his seat to, but you never know. Hopefully we do, because as we said, can't hurt. Why not trade him?
Yeah, I'm more optimistic on it. I really think that it could be a fourth round pick. I don't think it's going to be more. That it would be way too expensive for it to be more. And why wouldn't the Saints do a fourth round pick? Like, you don't need to negotiate that much. I like putting Carr and another asset to maybe get a better asset or something like that, but still. I think it's one of those. There's a lot of smoke that happens during the offseason. A lot of rumors. You don't know what's fake. You don't know what's true. But with how much Carr has talked about returning and has been hinting throughout the offseason, or throughout the season even. And if you remember, when Carr came to the Saints, it was between the Jets and the Saints. He was probably going to go to the Jets. But also, the Saints were the more win-now team. I think it's all bargaining. I think it's just all he's trying to sell different things to different people. The Vikings, he's trying to sell, I want to play for a winner. I want to play for a Super Bowl contender, because let's be real, the only reason they weren't great is because of J.J. McCarthy last season. Like, they have a very good defense and weapons throughout the offense. There's issues. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's issues. If Addison, because Addison has a lot of off-field issues, but so there's issues throughout. Do not get me wrong. But the Vikings are a lot closer to Super Bowl than the Jets. But Derek Carr has a great relationship with Aaron Glenn. I think they just hired his former quarterback coach or offense coordinator. I forget what it was, but major link there. The Jets already had interest in Derek Carr, 5 years ago? 4 years ago? Like, it way too soon. And look, when's the last time the Jets have had a solidified quarterback? I get it. Derek Carr is not – we don't like Derek Carr on the Saints. It didn't work. It wasn't fun to watch, and it was a horrible process. But let's be real. He's probably a top 20 to 15 quarterback in this league. He can still run an offense and elevate other players. Again, on the Saints, no, never again, never going to happen. But I think he could walk into some situations and start. Now, again, do you want to deal with Derek Carr? That's the other question. But I think the Jets would be willing to with how desperate they are. Like, they are desperate.
You're definitely a little bit higher on it than I am. I mean, the Jets quarterback room, you might have Derek Carr, someone else, and your quarterback coach just coached 2 Pro Bowlers on the Cleveland Browns last year, who they brought in. So You're looking pretty good if you're the Jets there. That's a playoff roster, I'm sure of it. So we'll see what happens with that.
I'm not saying it's a good idea. It's not a good idea. If I was the Jets, which I think I could run the Jets better. If I was the Jets, I would never touch it.
No.
But the issue is Aaron Glenn is fighting for his job, and he won't. I mean, he'll probably be interested in Kyler Murray or Tua, but their contracts are 10 times worse and have played worse than Derek Carr at times. And also, you're not going to draft Ty Simpson at 2, so you don't have a rookie to go to, and you're not going to want to do the Justin Fields route either. So, like, desperation is a crazy thing in this league, but desperation without a quarterback is something else. And I really think that, like, again, do I think Derek Carr's worth a 4th-round pick? Probably not. But do I think the Jets will pay a 4th-round pick? Legitimately, yes. Like, I think they're the organization. I think you could trade him to the Vikings for a 5th-round pick, and it's an easy decision. That's what happens. But also, Jets are in the AFC. And that's a thought process of you don't want to play your old quarterback, or you have a better chance of playing your old quarterback in the NFC. I don't think the Saints play the Vikings next season. I don't think they do.
I don't believe
But
so.
still, it's a possibility if he's there for a longer period of time. With the Jets, you barely play the Jets. Throw him there.
I mean, I wouldn't be that mad playing against Derek Carr. Send Chase Young at him. Like, okay. That won't strike too much fear into my heart. It's more fear than Brady Cook. It is a big upgrade over Brady Cook. But, I mean, I still think, like, they're not going to get Malik Willis or someone like that. But
No.
there's still, I think, better options. But I could 100%, as your point, see the Jets saying, screw it, we need someone to potentially save the job and just trading something for Carr. I'm not sure if I'm there for a 4th-round pick yet. I'm not sure even the Jets would do that right now. But who knows? Let's hope. Anything would be
Craziness
great.
happens.
If I'm the Jets and I'm looking at it in terms of contract when looking at guys like Tua and Kyler Murray, you might as well just go out and sign Kirk Cousins because I don't think the production is going to be much different from Derek Carr. But look, the Raiders really intrigues me as a spot for Derek Carr, reuniting with Clint Kubiak. Rashid Shaheed's a free agent. Maybe Clint Kubiak goes and brings him from Seattle to Las Vegas, reuniting him with Derek Carr, who we saw actually had a great connection with during their time with the Saints. So it's definitely a possibility. I think I'm kind of in the middle between you guys because I'm not very optimistic on it, but also I do think it could happen. Like I said, I just think if the Saints could get anything from this, that would be beneficial. And really, you can't ask for much more than that because you're not getting rid of anything. You're not losing anything. So that's kind of my thoughts on the Derek Carr situation. Moving on to another player who we really don't want to see leave New Orleans is Demario Davis, who has put back-to-back career years for New Orleans in his 13th and 14th NFL seasons. That's just unreal for a linebacker. Usually see the fall off a couple years ago. You would have seen a linebacker fall off. Demario is just still playing at an elite level, one of the best in the league. The Bears have been mentioned as a potential landing spot for him, but personally, I think this is all for leverage. I can't see him leaving New Orleans at this point in his career. If that were the case, these past couple deals that they have had, it was worse back then than it was now for the Saints. So I think there's hope in the building, and that Demario is a big part of that. And seeing Cam, which I know Cam wants to come back and made a little bit of a hint at it on Twitter today in an exchange with Alvin Kamara. I know if he sees Cam come back, that probably would make him want to come back and get the job finished that they started. So that's kind of my opinion on it. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you think the Saints should be trying their hardest to retain him, or do you think they should be embracing this youth movement at the linebacker position?
Send the house. The youth movement is a great thing, and it is something that the Saints desperately need to do. But the way to do that is not let your best veteran player, let your best leader on defense just leave the building. Like, I'm a big proponent for the Saints drafting a linebacker early, getting one in free agency. I wouldn't even care if it's the first round, if it's Sonny Styles, but we'll talk about that later in the offseason. But I think just Demario Davis, having them who can teach, having them who can lead, who can show them the ropes is so vital. So I really don't care what the cost is for 2 years. If it's a leverage play, let's hope it is. Good. If the Bears and Dennis Allen are offering something lucrative, pay it. Like, you aren't on a bad salary cap. And I just think it's so valuable to have that leader on a young defense that you just can't make the mistake of losing it. Because Danny Stutzman, I mean, he's looked good. Isaiah Stallberg, he's looked decent. But I feel like without Demario Davis in that locker room, it's just going to be so much light's going to be shining on them. And I just don't know if they're quite ready to take the reins yet.
Yeah, my viewpoint's a little bit different. I'm absolutely like bring back Demario Davis 100%. I mean, I don't want to see this linebacker room without him. And if they do let him go, then they need a backup option. And that I would like that in the draft. Obviously, Jacob Rodriguez later. I'd love that. But also free agency is very good. Pretty good linebackers. You could get a linebacker there. I forget the Packers linebacker that the Saints
Quay
almost
Walker.
traded for. Yeah, Quay Walker.
Mm-hmm.
The Saints literally almost traded for him before the season. So, like, could be just there's probably already interest there. But I wouldn't give him a multi-year deal. That's the one hang-up for me. I get it. Like, he hasn't Demario Davis has not slowed down that much. I mean, he's not going to catch up to some people as much. He's going to get juked out a lot more, maybe miss a tackle here and there. But, like, it's still risky. You don't know if one injury can make Demario Davis retire. Like, it's that point of the age where you kind of have those worries. I wouldn't do a 2-year deal. If Demario Davis is trying to get a 2-year deal, which I truly think he is, I think that's what the play is. I'd rather him just kind of go in free agency and maybe you get a comp pick.
I just personally don't think that the deal would be too harmful for the Saints if it was a multi-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you mentioned it. He has declined in some areas when it comes to those missed tackles in areas, even though he put up a career high in tackles this season. He did struggle with that a little bit this season compared to what he's done in the past. So maybe I'm all for a multi-year deal for Demario Davis. And I also think it looks a lot like the Cam Jordan extension a couple of years ago when there was a little, I don't know what you would call it, because it wasn't like a disagreement, but there was a little controversy over whether he deserved a multi-year deal after having that poor season in 2023. And look, they gave it to him because just how much he means to this football team, to this city. I think Demario is right up there with him. And I don't think the deal would be too harmful for the Saints, like I said. So I think it would be worth giving. I'm kind of with Drew on this one. Whatever the Bears offer, you just got to match it at this point. Send the house. I love Quay Walker, but I don't know if he's the type of guy that you could replace Demario Davis with. I think if you are planning on moving on from Demario Davis, you have to go out in free agency and get a veteran leader, because I just don't know if Quay Walker's been that guy throughout his career.
There's only one guy I think could replace Demario Davis, and maybe not even the first year. And it's not a free agent; it's a rookie. I think Sonny Styles, if you do lose Demario Davis, I think he's the only one in this free agency class and that who can try to replicate his success. So I think they either have to pay Demario Davis a lot, or maybe not a lot. I don't think he's going to be anything.
No, not a lot. Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be absurd. The Saints can 100% afford it. But if they, for some reason, Demario wants to change his scenery or something like that, which I just don't see. But if he does, I do think you've got to maybe think of investing very heavily at pick 8.
Yeah, and then I think just the Saints really need to – I think you need to look at the current linebacker room and be like, okay, who could be the Demario Davis replacement?
Don't get me wrong. I think Danny Stutzman definitely could be that guy in the future.
So that's kind of what I was saying, because Demario Davis has never been a good in pass coverage. That's not what he is. He'll be in the correct spots, but he'll be beat sometimes. It's just what happens. That's Danny Stutzman. Danny Stutzman's worse at pass coverage right now, there's no doubt. But that's Danny Stutzman. Danny Stutzman's going to be that run defender, the person you could blitz, the things Demario Davis does. While in free agency or in the draft, I actually think they could go a different route and be like, okay, if Demario leaves, Danny Stutzman will fit that Demario role. Pete Werner is no more. Get that kind of pass coverage linebacker. And I really like Tremaine Edmonds, who, speaking of the Bears, is a cut candidate from them. If they get Demario Davis, he's probably going to be released. And although he's dealt with injuries, he's a very, very good linebacker. Even Quincy Williams, who from the Jets, is also better in pass coverage. I think and the Pitt linebacker in the draft.
Hi, Lewis. I was waiting for you to mention him. Yep.
So good. He's so good. I think there's options where it's kind of like the Taysom Hill thing. How many teams have tried to find the next Taysom Hill? So many. The Saints have tried to do it. You don't find the next of someone, in my opinion.
Tommy Stevens.
Exactly. The Saints tried to find the next Drew Brees. It didn't work. You don't find the next of someone. You pivot. So you kind of put Danny Stutzman in that DeMario Davis role, and then you find a pass coverage linebacker. Let's be real. I don't remember the last time the Saints have had a pass coverage linebacker. So like pure, just and Ken tackle obviously, but pure, just like very good. That's why I like Quay Walker, because he's basically a safety playing linebacker, and he's so good at it, and that's kind of why I think they need a pivot in that area, and why maybe it's time for DeMario Davis to go. Especially if he does want a lot of money, which I don't think so, but you never know. You never know what someone could get on open market, and I have no doubt contenders are going to be fighting for him.
And you just mentioned another name that I think would be a great replacement for, well, you can't really replace DeMario Davis, but would be a great filler for that role, and that's Quincy Williams. Kind of had a similar career path to DeMario Davis as well, coming from New York. That would be one that I would be up for. He's a leader. He's very vocal on that defense, has led it for years now. And I think he would fit well with the current linebacking core. But like I said, the hope is that DeMario returns. Look, I'm all for adding some of these guys that we've been talking about, even if DeMario does return. Pete Werner, it's just looking like that time's coming to an end in New Orleans, whether by trade or just by playing time falling off, like we saw at the end of last season with Danny Stutzman taking more reps down the stretch of the season. So I would definitely be for the Saints adding another linebacker. I think that's a position that you can't really have too much of.
Yeah, and the draft is like, you probably need to come away from the draft with a linebacker, no
That's a
matter
good
what.
group. It's a good
Just
group.
it's a really good group, and the depth on the Saints, like Jalen Ford, I'm out on Jalen Ford. I don't know what's happening there. Although I like Danny Stutzman, like I just like it's not.
Danny
the depth is
Stutzman's
not-
a what if.
Yeah, like there's so much unknown behind DeMario Davis, where if DeMario Davis leaves, you definitely need to. I would sign and draft a linebacker.
Yeah.
Like you get two. It's one of those years that you need to get two. And like again, I'm all for DeMario Davis coming back on a 1 year. Not even cheaper. I'm honestly fine with paying him more for 1 year. It won't be great for this year's cap, but I'd rather that than multi-year, in my opinion.
Actually, that's a good point. If it was a 1 year, like a big paycheck, I would not be mad at that. Like me, Drew and I said, I just don't see it being a very large deal. If it were going to be that big deal on a multi-year contract, then maybe we're getting into some muddy waters, but I just don't see it happening. I don't see DeMario Davis trying to, I wouldn't say harm the Saints in that way, but obviously he's going to do what's best for his career. And if he wants to stay in New Orleans and think that's best for his career, I don't think that he's going to demand a lot of money from the Saints just because of how well they've done him and what they've just both done for each other. I think this, like I said, the city needs him. The team needs him. He's just one of the Saints legends at this point in his career. So I'd be all for bringing him back. But we'll kind of pivot that into our last segment because I know you guys want to talk about the Combine with that coming up. Should be pretty exciting. There's a couple guys we have our eye on. What about y'all?
I mean,
first,
there
Drew?
are so many guys I have my eye on. But before we go into who is invited, I just want to bring up the one guy who was not invited that I am still absolutely flabbergasted by. I think he's someone who the Saints 100% have on his radar. I don't know if this is just them wanting to kind of hide him in a sense and not allow the national media to see it or what. But I think Boston College wide receiver Lewis Bond is so perfect for the Saints offense. You're not going to hear anything about him because it's Boston College. They pretty much sucked at everything this year. I'd say he was one of the lone bright spots. You have a couple offensive tackles, but right now Lewis Bond's the really big bright spot. He's my wide receiver 8 currently, 5'11", 190 pounds. He's primarily in the slot receiver. So you could have Vele, you could have Olave, and then you could have Bond slide right in the interior. But he's so shifty, so smart, really good elusiveness, good after the catch. He's just an all-around great receiver. He won't outrun anyone or do anything like that, but he'd be a really good value pick that because he wasn't invited to the Combine, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Saints snag sometime on day 3. But having that said, I'll let Caleb talk first about the Combine, some players actually invited to the Combine, and then I'll kind of bounce off that.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to, funny enough, talk about someone who also wasn't invited first. But Kalen Black, Indiana running back. I don't know how he wasn't invited. He was at the Senior Bowl after like a week after the national championship, and somehow just wasn't invited to combine, even though he had a really great performance there also. So that's just another player. But I'm looking at the wide receivers. Look, there's a lot of question marks with this wide receiver group. We have, and I just wrote an article today that's, I don't know when it's going out, but talking about the Saints' perfect plan this offseason. And it is to invest in everything else during free agency except wide receiver. Because do you know what's going to be a guaranteed thing at number 8? That one of the 3, not including Denzel Boston, even though I'm higher on him now. Okay. 4, one of the 4 wide receivers is going to be there at 8. Like, I have in my full draft mind where every need is listed for every team. There's no way all 3 or 4 wide receivers are going to be drafted in the top 8. Cardinal Tate's honestly probably going to be the one drafted in the top 8 because Mekhi Lemon is a pure slot receiver who's I'm going to be watching for his height at the NFL Combine. I need official measurements because he could be smaller.
That'll be 5'10". I think it'll be 5'10".
And I think that's going to drop him a little bit, even though that I really want the Saints to draft him at 8. And then Jordan Tyson's injuries. Because my goodness. If I had to have my bold hot take right now, it's that he drops out of the top 20. Because if who was the Michigan cornerback last year?
Will Johnson.
Will Johnson had a lot of issues. He barely played his last year, and also it wasn't as good as his tape the year before. But his injury dropped him to the second round. I'm not going to say it's that egregious, but Jordan Tyson's injury history is bad, and it's not like Tyler Shuck's injury history. Like, it's things that will come up. And I honestly think if somehow, some way the Saints' board gets leaked, Jordan Tyson might not even be on there. Because I truly think they're going to take those injuries into consideration, and I really think he's going to drop. But that's another thing at the Combine that I want to see. Say that all, one of those wide receivers are going to be available at 8. It's just what's going to happen. So you might as well build everything else this offseason because you're going to get one of those wide receivers at 8. It doesn't matter. It's basically a guarantee. And even Denzel Boston. I'm high on Denzel Boston. Drew's higher on Denzel Boston.
I'm a little high on Denzel Boston.
Higher on Denzel Boston. I can't wait to see what he runs. Also, I hope he runs. I really do.
He is not running. I really want him to. I would love him to. So but I would genuinely be shocked if we see a Denzel Boston.
And this brings up the other conversation that we saw last year. And I was messaging Drew about it when we were talking about the Combine yesterday. And I think the NFL invited like a lot less. Yeah, like 70 less prospects this year. Like, it was a lot less prospects, which I think could say something about the class. But I also think it says something that they want people that are actually going to work out. Because last year was a massive issue where players weren't working out. They were like, people were just there for meetings, which is arguably honestly the reason for the Combine. Teams meeting with players is why the Combine happens. Yes, the measurements are great, the workouts are great. It boosts draft stock, sometimes hurts draft stock, but like Nick Emmanuel, if I pronounced that correctly, had one of the best Combine performances of all time, and he still dropped a bit. And look how good he was this year. Like, the Combine is pretty superficial besides the meetings and measurements. But still, you can really help your draft stock by working out. And a lot of these prospects last year did not do that. So that's something I'm watching for with Denzel Boston, especially because I truly think he could run faster than people think he is because it shows on tape. Yeah, like, and it's one of those. And people don't like, that's one of those gripes that I always see with Denzel Boston. So the wide receiver room is like, if I just say my main thing I'm watching for, it's 100% that, which for the Saints is very important.
Yeah. So first off, on the Jordan Tyson, Will Johnson kind of thing, I do 100% see that comparison. But with Will Johnson, there were also a little bit so I was at the draft last year. Shout out, I got the shirt on. But I'm just talking to Will Johnson. He's a very quiet guy, is what I'll say. Not outgoing. He was very, very shy. Him next to Maxwell Harrison, the quarterback for the Bills now, was just such a difference. But I heard a little bit that that's why teams he fell a little bit too, was because that teams didn't know if he was passionate or not. So I don't think it was the injuries 100% dropped him a little bit, but I don't think that was the sole reason that he dropped all the way to the second round. Now, Tyson, do I think he'll drop a little bit? I can see that, but I don't think he'll be available at 20. If he is, that could be an amazing value snag for a team. And then me, I got to talk about Denzel Boston. If you don't know, Denzel Boston is my wide receiver 1. I am so high on it. People question his athleticism. They question all that. He was a very good punt returner. He was a kick returner. He has athleticism. He can do stuff after the catch. His top end speed isn't elite, but I still think he can run the 4.4s. So I said I would be kind of surprised if he ran it still right now, ran the 40-yard dash. I truly hope he does because I think he will put up a pretty good number, but not entirely sure on that. I looked it up too. The combine last year had 329 prospects invited. So about 10 more.
I think it was so much more.
I could have looked something wrong, but that's just
I don't think you're wrong.
So, and then one more, Brennan Thompson, wide receiver from Mississippi State. People may not know his name right now, but he's breaking that combine 40-yard dash record. Xavier Worthy ran fast. Brennan Thompson is faster. This guy is a world-class speed. I'm trying the number quick. I have it written down in my notes. He was a 10.22 100-meter dash runner in high school, which, to put in perspective, anything under 11 is very good. Number 91 on Bruce Feldman's freak list, just absolute burner. He got a 305-pound bench as well with a 405 pounds back squat. He is going to put up numbers. He is going to rise up in the rankings. Now, right now, I love him in the 4th, 5th round for the Saints. Do I think he'll be there in April? No. I think he'll be a day 2 pick 100%. I can still hope, but I think his performance is going to put him quite a ways out of the Saints range at come to April. But yeah, one other guy that I'm going to be, I think I've said that multiple times, now looking at a couple more, but Jacoby Lane, it's paramount for him to have a good combine because right now I'm not on him. I'm not a Jacoby Lane guy. I see people mocking him to the Saints in the second round. Keep me as far away from that as possible. He's got the plague right now. I need to see his athleticism kind of fixed before that, or show that he has. Because right now on film for me, it looked like he was kind of stiff running routes. I don't think he could separate that much because he doesn't have that sudden agility. He relied primarily just on big body, contested catch, go up and get it, which he does. His vertical jump will probably be north of 40 inches. He's going to jump high. He's going to bench press a lot. He's going to do all of that well. But I think he's going to be kind of in that Keon Coleman range for 40-yard dash, where 4.6, maybe mid 4.6s if he does run. So if he can get into the 4.5s, his stock is going to raise a lot. But I have some concerns with him. And then, I mean, it kind of is going around. I'm just looking at the list, and some of the guys are catching my eye, so I'm talking about them. Ted Hurst, he's going to have a big combine. His name, he rose up at the Senior Bowl. He'll continue rising. I think I actually have a time on his 40-yard dash I found. It's a 4.51 was what I was reading on some spots and what I heard from some other scouts. So I'm going to be very curious because he looks faster than that on tape. I would not be surprised to see him run in the 4.4s, low 4.4s. So getting a number on that and kind of answering, does he have elite speed will be a big question for him. And it's someone that I can see rise. There are a lot of good returners as well, like kick returners, punt returners. Saints don't have Rashid Shaheed anymore. They could be in the market for that. And there are a number of good ones. Cade Weigent from Iowa. He was absolutely electric last year. He'll undoubtedly run well and show some good stuff at the combine. Then I got to mention my Kansas guy, Emmanuel Henderson Jr. Still a lot to be asked for a receiver. Struggles tracking the ball. Struggles a lot at times. But he's another guy. Blazing speed, will be a good returner. So don't be surprised to see those guys run high or run low, I guess, and potentially get on the Saints' radar.
Yeah, and we're just talking about wide receivers. Look how much conversation we've had.
There's still so many we could talk about.
There's and that's the crazy thing, and kind of just like even going away from the prospects, like just for the combine. This is also the fun time where we get to see who the Saints are talking to, which they're gonna, talk to a billion people. But this is also when we start to hear rumors. Look, every year, rumors start flying around to the combine. This is when people talk a lot. This is when we started to find out that the Titans, what they were doing at 1 last year. Carr conversation. We literally had it to start the episode. I have no doubt we actually are probably going to get a direction on what's going to happen with Carr at the combine, because it's just kind of what happens. People talk, GMs talk, agents talk. It's just what happens. I've said it's just what happens a million times, but it is. But the most important thing is definitely like who the Saints are meeting with. You kind of get not a direction, but you kind of see like, hey, if they meet with a Senior Bowl player, that's immediately like, whoa,
Yep.
because you probably met with them twice then. Because there's no doubt you met with them at the Senior Bowl. So now if you're meeting with them again, that's interesting. That's something you know. And also this is kind of time where like you kind of start learning about prospects off the field stuff. Like if there's more injury issues, if there's character concern.
Chris Brazzell will fall. Calling it right now.
Okay.
I'm not a fan.
We had last year with Mike Green when he went to the podium and said what he said. I don't know if that's going to happen again, but we do have there's definitely people with like Zion Young. Sadly, love Zion.
No, I think he's fine. Like, yeah, there are some concerns. I think
he's okay.
But on the field, he is a leader. He's a team captain at Missouri.
He's fine.
I'm concerned, but
teams
he should
are
be fine.
100% going to ask about the allegations and arrests before that. But those are things that are going to come up. And those are things that are going to be figured out this in Combine Week, which is next week. And again, draft boards will 100% change after this week. This is when draft boards start to really move. Like we saw the Senior Bowl boost. Marion Hampton flew into the first round last year after his combine performance. Like this is really when we start seeing that. So it's going to be very interesting to see, because if Denzel Boston runs, I think he might fly into the top 15, I think.
Mm-hmm. He's gonna surprise a lot of people with his speed if he does. People are severely underrating him, and I'm excited to see what he runs. But going to defense or just some other position other than wide receiver, we all could talk about receivers for a day because they're so fun to talk about. It's a great class. But I'm kind of just looking through the list right now and jotting down some players that I think you should keep your eye out for them, because they are going to test really well, interview really well, or just fly up the rankings. So I wrote a couple of them down. I haven't gone through the entire list, but Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo. He's the next great Toledo defender, safety, really good defender in the run game, shown some stuff in the pass game. He'll run well. He'll test well. He'll 100% rise up the rankings. Similar to all the past Toledo defenders. Darius Alexander last year did really well. Quinyon Mitchell a couple years ago did really well. Damani Jackson, the cornerback from Alabama, the kid can fly. He is going to post high 4.2s, maybe low 4.3s. He's going to be very, very fast. In any other class, he would have be in a big contention for the fastest 40-yard dash. As I said this year, I think that's going to Brennan Thompson. We got Zane Durant, defensive tackle out of Penn State. He is very small for a defensive tackle. He can move around the line. NASCAR package he'd be perfect for. But he is going to test really well. He's going to be very explosive, so keep his name. Sonny Styles, I mean, he's a given. He's going to run well. He's going to jump well. He's going to bench press well. He's going to do drills well. Former safety, converted a linebacker. My highest graded player in the class. You really can't ask any more from him. He does everything.
He might be a top 5 pick.
I think he should be. I wrote an article.
If Arvell Reese is a top 5 pick,
mm-hmm.
Sonny Styles is a top 5
Sonny Styles is better than Arvell Reese. Sonny Styles, I wrote an article at Who Dat Ish. I don't know if it's out yet. I think it'll be coming out one of the next couple days. But the Saints should consider possibly drafting Styles at 8. Screw positional value. If you have that level of a player on the board at a position that you need, take it. You're not going to regret having an all-pro on your roster for 10 years. You're never going to say, oh, I wish I would have gone that receiver. I wish I would have gone Jeremiah Love if you have an all-pro for 10 years. So I'm not saying he's going to be that, but I think Styles has the potential. Kyle Lewis, talked about him earlier from Pitt. He'll fly up rankings. He had an insane Senior Bowl. Very small, but he is such a good mover, and he will have a great day. Then Arizona State cornerback Keith Abney. He's another one. Former 300-meter roller champion, national champion. Random backstory, but he's got such fluid hips, such fluid ankles. He's got really good speed. He'll undoubtedly play really well. Darrell Jackson Jr., from Florida State, just from a measurable standpoint. They're already out at the Shrine Bowl, but people will see his at the combine and go, wow, this kid is insane. I was looking it up, and his wingspan, I'm going to see if I can find my article, but I think I can remember it. Yeah, Hansen Yang, or Yang Hansen, I forgot what his name was an NBA first-round pick a couple years ago. He's 7 foot, 7'2", something around there. His wingspan is 1 inch bigger than Darrell Jackson Jr.
My God.
And Darrell Jackson Jr. is 6'5". He is a freak of nature who you're going to see him on the field and you're just going to be shocked. So he's one that once people get eyes on are going to rise up a lot too. I'll kick it to Caleb or Lee Hunter. I'll do that quick, but yeah. Anyone else?
Saints fan, Lee Hunter. We love Lee Hunter.
Saints fan.
Lee Hunter is a Saints fan. Yeah, there's one person that's 100% because his stock has dropped for, in my opinion, decent reason. I think he's a late first-round pick, but Keldrick Folk is about to fly right back up.
Yep, that's good.
Keldrick Folk is every defensive coordinator's dream. He is literally what every defense coordinator is going to want. He is Micah Williams 2.0. And he's too athletic to not fly up. He's going to test really well. He's probably going to interview amazing. I've heard good things about him. So he's going to interview amazing. He's going to fly up again, which scares me for the Saints. So scary. I really think there's going to go offense. I really think it's just going to end up going offense. But also, I'm going back to offense real quick. I know we're talking about defense, but I had to. Jeremiah Love is going to be there at the combine.
Yep.
Now, as we know, we all want Jeremiah Love. Drew, I know you have some people ahead of him, but
I don't have anyone no one ahead of him. And the big board, yes, but he's my number one running back by far. Yeah.
Well, running back wise, yeah.
Yeah.
If the Saints interview with him, Saints Twitter might blow up.
Yeah.
Yep.
It might break. Because I think I would love Jeremiah Love. We would all love Jeremiah Love on the team. It would fit perfectly. Everything about it would be great. And I wouldn't be surprised the Saints have major interest in him. And that's one of those interviews that I'm 100% watching out for. Because if they interview him, I really think they're going to fall in love with him and they're going to have interest. I think it's one of those things where there could be offensively, there's two options in front of me right now at 8. It's Mekhi Lemon and Jeremiah Love. Those are my two Saints offensive options, in my opinion. And I think both are going to interview really well. And I think it's just going to be, if they're both available, I legitimately think it's just going to be who the Saints like more. Character-wise. I think they're going to be okay, this is a weapon we can bring to our offense. They can elevate the offense equally. I honestly think as a prospect, they could just be the same level to the Saints. But that interview is going to be what changes everything. And that's where the combine really matters. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Nick Underhill report that's they loved their interview with Jeremiah Love, and then everything's going to blow up. I just see it happening. It's it happens and then in every single mock draft you see from Saints analysts everywhere, you're going to start seeing the same player. Randomly, 2 weeks before this draft, start seeing Kelvin Banks at 9. Excuse me? What do you mean Kelvin Banks at 9? He's supposed to be at 20, and guess who they drafted?
Same thing with Tyler Shuck in the second round.
Same thing. Nick Underhill was talking about Tyler Shuck from the end of the season. So, it's one of those things. Look, I don't have the insider information that Nick Underhill has, but what you got to read between the lines sometimes. And if people start talking about one thing, there's a reason why they're talking about one thing. And that's why so if you see a million Jeremiah Love comments after every Saints fan has been talking about Jeremiah Love and it hasn't switched up, that's when you're okay, there is real interest there. And that's what the NFL Combine can do to entire thought process with what could happen with teams.
100%. I think Love will. He was 100% going to interview with the Saints.
Oh, yeah, and he's going to interview amazing.
He's a great guy, yeah.
Good.
I mean, I can't wait it's going to be a very interesting time. But you kind of talk about the Kelvin Banks thing. I can't wait to start hearing that about Denzel Boston 2 weeks before the draft. I've been calling it the whole draft cycle.
If I see Nick Underhill 2 weeks
I'm-
before the
yeah,
draft,
that's- I've been
randomly
on that
have
for
Denzel
months.
Boston in a mock draft to the Saints and be like, oh, okay,
I thought
that's
that for- yeah.
something.
Might as well pencil it in at that point.
Oh, 100%.
One guy, there's a couple more guys on offense. I went all offense that I think are going to blow up the combine. Damon Claiborne, Wake Forest running back. If we're being honest, there's no chance Jeremiah Love tests. He's not. He's not
Why
running a 40.
would he?
There is zero chance that he does.
There's no running backs close to him.
There's no bonus.
Nobody.
There's a lot to lose. So he's not
He get
gonna do
injured.
that. Same thing with
I
Genty
know.
last year. I have him as a better prospect than Genty. He's got better speed than Genty, but there's still no reason to because you're not going to put up a 4.2, and running a 4.3 won't really help him, and it might hurt him a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, there's no chance he loves, but Damon Claiborne, he's going to take full advantage. Lightning in a bottle. He is so fast. There's a lot of minor concerns I have. Ball carrier, like ball security, some vision, just stuff like that. But he's so fast. You're going to see him have a very good 40 time, and you're going to be on a lot of people's watch list. Then a pair of tight ends who are basically slot wide receivers. You got Eli Stowers from Vandy and Michael Trigg from Baylor. Both those guys are practically wide receivers lining up at tight end. So you're going to see them run really well routes and stuff like that. So that undoubtedly is going to make them move upwards. And then 2 offensive linemen. JC Davis from Illinois. He's not getting enough love. One of the best face masks in college football. I'll just say that off. But he's a big guy, very athletic. I think he played tackle, but he'll move to guard at the next level. So he wouldn't be someone I would be shocked to see the Saints interview and potentially like. And then one of my favorite guys in the draft, Jennings Dunker. I mean, you're going to see the mullet, you're going to see the mustache, and you're immediately going to like him. Like, he'll immediately be on the Saints board, but he's just a football player. He's a farm boy. He grew up throwing hay bales around the farm and stuff like that. Like, he's just so fun. He's going to be strong. He's going to run well. Like, it'll be a very interesting conversation to watch with him too. Another guy who's a tackle who'll transition to guard at the next level.
Awesome. Well, I think that'll wrap up today's episode. I appreciate everyone tuning in today. We will catch you guys next week.